Hi there, welcome to Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. Guess what? It's raining outside in the garden, so I have to do a video indoors. And I thought, what can I do indoors? I can teach you how to save tomato seeds. And that's what we're going to do today. Come along. Today I'm going to be saving tomato seeds and showing you how. It's quite easy. I'm going to use two methods, and there are three methods out there actually that you can learn about in Craig LaHoulier's Epic Tomatoes. This is the Bible of tomatoes. It's a great book. I'm not getting paid anything to say this. I'm just telling you, if you want the book on tomatoes, this is the one. If I had an Amazon link for merch and stuff, I'd be pushing this book heavy. This is the one. But in it, Craig talks about two ways to save tomato seeds, three ways actually. And I'm going to show you one of the ways to completion today. I'm going to talk about the second way that I've also done and show you how to do it. We're going to start that way, but it takes 5 days to complete. And then I'm not going to talk much about the third way because it involves chemicals, trisodium phosphate, and bleach. And I'm just not going to go that route when it's so easy to save seeds the other way. So he has it in here in the saving seed sections. And he gives you a step-by-step guide on how to do it the fermenting way, which is the second way I'm going to talk about. So if you don't have this book, Craig's a great guy. He's got a good YouTube channel. He will teach you everything you need to know about tomatoes. Now, what am I using today? My tomatoes in the garden are coming in. There's fruit out there on my tomato plants. And I'm really happy about that, but none of them are ripe. So I had to go and pick up some stunt tomatoes to stand in for my tomatoes. Now these are heirlooms, but look, they have stickers on them. I did buy them at the store. So, but this is likely to be something similar to a Manna orange. They say they're heirloom tomatoes. That's an orange tomato. I generally have liked every single orange type of tomato that I have ever planted and grown. And they all come about this size. So I'm going to save some seeds and we're going to see what happens. This, I don't know what it is. It's just a big old red tomato. And it might be good, it might not. So I am going to taste these tomatoes and see if it's worth saving seeds from them. But they are heirlooms. They're nice and ripe. They're kind of almost starting to get overripe, which is about when I like to save seeds. Craig says you should take if you're taking them out of your garden, you should get the very first ripe ones out of your garden, just in case the bees haven't come and worked over your whole garden and mixed all the pollen up and made a hybrid for you that you didn't plan on. Get the first one. Yeah, the fruit's going to come true to type no matter what kind of cross-pollination happened. But if you try to plant those seeds, you may have cross-pollination issues in the future. So let's get with this first method. It uses only a paper towel. All right, this first method is called the paper towel method. It can also be called the paper plate method. Basically, we're just going to cut open our tomato and squeeze out some seeds onto our paper napkin. And we're going to just kind of mush them around on there until they're spread out evenly. And we're going to let them dry. We're going to let them dry, pulp and all. If you have a lot of pulp, and we'll see what we get when we cut into this tomato. If you have a lot of pulp, you might want to just rinse it in the sink through a very fine mesh strainer and see if you can cut some of that out. First of all, let me taste this and see if it's any good. Yeah, that's actually a very good store-bought tomato. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it where I can get at the gel in there. So I'm going to cut it a little bit deeper this time. So now you can see I've opened up a lot of these pockets. I can take that and just squeeze that gel out. And you see how the seeds just come with it? And let's see, can we squeeze some out on here or do we need to strain them? They squeeze pretty nicely onto here. So now I'm just going to spread them out where they're all even. And you see the gel around them actually has a sprouting inhibitor. It causes the seed to lie dormant for a while. If we wash all that gel off, or we try to wash it off, we might have better success with having cleaner seeds if that's important to you. But these seeds will, they'll sprout just like any other seed with all the dried up gel all stuck to them. They'll still sprout. It's, they're just fine. So the more seeds you want, just keep adding until you've got a nice layer there. Now there's also another way you can do this. Same principle, but instead of on a towel, you do it on an uncoated paper plate. Well, my paper plates happen to be coated. You can see they're shiny, but the backside is uncoated, so I can use this uncoated backside. So you would write the name of your variety on the paper plate, and well, I don't know what these varieties are. They're just heirlooms from the store. They're just called heirlooms, and they're all in a big box. So I don't know the variety, so I would call this one HEB Gold. That's what we're going to call it, although it probably has a different name. And we would spread those seeds out on here just the same. I'm going to wash some of them off and see if some of this gel will come off before we stick them on here. Okay, so what we're going to do is take our strainer and squeeze a bunch of seeds into that. Now don't throw away this meat. You can eat this tomato. All right, that's a good amount there. I'm going to set that aside. Now we can take our water and just give that a rinse and see if we can't push some of that gel through. And it looks like we're having good success. This is the same method, the paper towel, paper plate method, but it's just an additional step. You don't have to do it, but it makes for cleaner seeds in the end. And perhaps that's what you want, is clean seeds. All right, let's go put these on our plate. I'm going to take a paper towel and kind of press these dry a little bit. And of course, most of them are going to stick to the paper towel. In fact, all but one. Now they're all there. Now what we can do is just scrape them off. That's why I brought a spoon. And you can see they're a little bit cleaner than the ones that we didn't wash. And that makes sense. So we just spread them around evenly on this plate and we let them air dry. And both of these should be ready to store. Both our paper towel that's kind of ugly and wet over here and our seeds that we're going to put on this paper plate. They should both be ready in about the same amount of time. So let's spread these out. It's harder than it looks because they want to stick together. But even if they stick together a little bit, they'll still dry. Just get them in a single layer and you'll be all right. All right, so we leave these for 5 days and they should be ready to store. Here's what they look like when they're done. This was a variety of cherry tomato that I purchased recently. I don't know if that's in focus. Can you see that? That's a variety of cherry tomato that I bought at the store. I don't know if this is an heirloom or a hybrid, but the only way to find out is to grow some seeds and see if the second generation, the F1 type fruit, comes true to type. This was the best cherry tomato I've ever had outside of things I've grown myself. And it was beautiful. It was yellow and purple. And it was called a tiki, I think. I'm trying to remember. I think that's what it was called. And they're delicious. So I saved some seeds. Well, that's what they look like. And you say, well, how are you going to use those now that they're stuck on there? They've dried to the paper towel. No big deal. Just pinch them off, just like so, and they come off. Don't put it in there. Or you can just tear the paper up, and if they're spread out enough, you can just plant these with the paper, with a little, stuck onto a little bit of paper. It won't matter. It'll still grow for you. Just stick them in the soil, and yeah. So now I have 2 varieties of seed saved, and well, I'm not going to save that one. I'm going to keep these here. 2 varieties of seeds saved. I need to put a label on this. Here's an important tip. In your workspace, always clean up the stray seeds, like those right there, of a particular variety before moving on to your next variety. You don't want them getting mixed up. You don't want to plant these gold ones expecting gold and you get a big red tomato. So make sure you clean your workspace. Okay, the next method we're going to cover is the fermentation method. And again, the fermentation method is a traditional way to get very clean seeds that don't stick together. It's typically the way you would collect seeds if you wanted to sell seeds or trade seeds with your friends. You don't want to give them some big ugly, a big ugly mass of seeds that are all mashed together. So all we need is a cup. I'd normally use a plastic cup, but I don't have any clear plastic cups. I'm going to use a glass. And make sure you label what your tomato is. If this was a known variety, I'd write it right on there, and the date. You want to know how many days your ferment has gone on. And then you need your tomato and possibly some water. You need some paper towels, and well, that's about it. So we're going to cut into our tomato here, and the same way we're going to extract some of our seeds and pulp, and we're going to put them right into this container here. So I'm going to take a bit of that tomato off. We're into the area where the seeds are. We're going to taste this. Yeah, that kind of tastes like disappointment. That's not a very good tomato, but we're going to try to get some seeds saved out of it and demonstrate the technique anyway. Squeeze right in there. Yeah, there we go. I don't know that we're going to need any water with this juicy tomato. Just get as many seeds out of this tomato as you can. Turn it around, you get a bunch more, and you make a big mess on your table. Like I said, this is a stunt tomato. It's a stand-in. It's not my normal tomato that I wouldn't usually save seeds from store-bought tomatoes unless they tasted really good. Now that gold one was good. I'm going to try to plant some of those maybe in the fall. But this guy, he's for demo purposes only. So here's what we have. We have our seeds and our pulp and juice and the gel on those seeds all in the bottom of a cup. If you can swirl it like that, if there's enough natural juices in there, that's great. But if you can't swirl it, add a little bit of water, just a little bit of water till you get a solution that kind of looks like this. You can swirl it. Then put a paper towel over it. I would use one of these little table napkins, and I would rubber band it down so that the stink coming off of it won't let the flies in there. It'll attract flies, and you don't want that. You don't want any of those imperfections from outside in your ferment. And so put a rubber band around that, and then place it somewhere where it is warmish, 85 degrees or so. My garage right now would be ideal. Because it's going to stink. I mean, that's just, you can't get around that. So once it starts fermenting, if it's above 85 degrees or so, it might start fermenting in overnight, and it might be done in 2, maybe 3 days. It's going to get all kinds of nasty foam, white foam on top, sometimes black mold. That doesn't matter. That's what you want to see. You want to see that foam on top. And once you see that, then you'll take this, take the paper towel off, take this to your sink, and you'll run water in here. And you'll run water until you see the seeds falling to the bottom. And when the seeds fall to the bottom, those are your good seeds. If they float to the top, they're no good. And so you'll fill it with water, and you'll pour off all that solid matter, all that yeast and all the foam. You'll pour that off, and you'll fill it up again, and you'll pour it off until you start seeing just seeds in clear water. That's what you're aiming for. Seeds down at the bottom in clear water. Everything else, all that gel, all the junk, all the yeast, all the foam is gone. And that's the process of just, pouring and pouring and pouring. Then you'll take it to your fine mesh strainer, put the seeds in there, kind of dry them off like we did with the other paper plate method, and then just dump these out on a paper plate, spread them around evenly, and in 5 weeks you'll have real nice clean seeds. Just scrape them off there and put them in your storage. Now I had this water ready just in case we had real thick seeds, but we didn't. We got a nice little pulpy liquid here that we can ferment. So I'm going to go ahead and ferment these just to see how long it takes in this temperature, and but I don't think I'm going to keep those particular seeds. But if you are going to keep them, what do? The main enemy of seeds is moisture. So when your seeds are nice and dry, maybe a week if you live in a humid area, maybe you want to give it a little longer. Once your seeds are nice and dry, put them in a airtight container. You can store them in seed packs if you want, but if you really want them to last, tomato seeds will last up to 20 years if you store them right. Put them in an airtight container and label them. Some folks recommend putting them in an airtight container with a little packet of silica gel. That will help to keep the moisture absorbed in that silica gel rather than in your tomato seeds. And if you really want some serious storage, find some airtight vials, put your seed in it, put a pack of silica gel in there, and put them in the freezer, and they'll last a good 20 years. You can take them out whenever you want. So yeah, seed storage is easy. If you do want to store them for a while, a couple of years, just put them in a Ziploc bag and seal it up, and they'll stay good and ready for you for at least a couple of years. Well, cheers. Thanks for joining me on Black Gumbo Southern Gardening today. How much would you give me to drink that? That's kind of gross. I mean, we eat it on our salads and in our sandwiches, but I mean, just to drink, straight up drink the pulp and the seeds. It's tomatoey. Hey, if you like our content, head on down to our link below and buy some tomato seeds from Seeds for Generations. They are a wonderful company, family-run business, and if you support them, you support me. Also, if you want some good products to fertilize your tomatoes with, go down to my link, or go to ivorganics.com and use my code GUMBO10, and you'll be getting 10% off of everything in their store. IV Organics, a great place to buy fertilizers and products for protecting your fruit trees and your trees. I love Charles over there. He's doing a good thing with the business. So thanks for joining us. I hope we've earned your subscription. Come back next time. Hopefully it won't be raining when we go out in the garden. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.